Hello and welcome back to a new video and a new series. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to be having a look at some tanks that Wargaming have just simply forgotten about. And one of those tanks, which I'm sure the name will ring a bell to many of you, is the K-91 version 2. This tank is a tier 9 Soviet medium tank. It's got decent armor, a decent gun, and for quite a large period of time between about 2020 and 2022, this tank was thrown around to be included in every event possible and every way possible, but it never actually did. The most notable supposed inclusion of this tank, where it was going to be coming to the game, was the original Black Market event. It was supposed to be one of the tanks under the covers, and we were going to be getting this tank available to buy for gold, and just never happened, never materialized, and since then, Wargaming seemed to have just forgotten about this tank. Well, let's have a look at this tank statistics and see how it would fit in the current meta. Obviously, these statistics are now about 2 years old, so let's have a look. So, DPM is actually quite nice. This tank has a very nice gun, and that is for its DPM, its aim time, its dispersion. Yeah, 2.6k DPM is very nice, especially when you start putting a bond rammer on it. Yeah, that's 3k DPM. That's pretty good. You've got 0.34 of a dispersion. That's really quite nice. 1.92 seconds aim time. Really comfortable. It's not very slow. 55 forwards, 18 back. If you were to run literally a standard turbo on this tank, that's 59. It's a pretty quick medium tank. Really good ground resistances as well, so it's going to be maintaining that speed over most terrains. Yeah. Gun depression was a bit lacking, but that tends to be pretty common with Soviet mediums. 6 degrees, though, is, the better end of Soviet mediums. And its armor, 220mm turret, really quite nice. 110mm hull, really quite nice. Has a decent HP pool. That's not particularly anything special anymore. Some of the newer mediums we've had at tier 9 have had 1600, so it's a little bit lower nowadays. But, run a hardening device on it in the slot, for example. So you'd use your field mod, you put it in the slot. Let me quickly do it. And then put it in the slot. 1650, so once again, not terrible. But once again, you do the same to a tank with 1600 base. Yeah, that's 1750, so changes. It had decent camo ratings, decent view range. Yeah, this tank was just looking altogether really quite nice. Not even mentioning its ammo, which was really quite nice APCR and pretty nice heat. This tank seemed to have everything. It looked to be like a really solid tier 9 medium, and lots of people were excited for it to be coming to the game, and it just seems to have been forgotten about, put by the wayside. But let's have a look at this tank. So visually, it looks pretty resemblant of tanks we already have in the game, namely the K-91, which we have at tier 10. It basically has the K-91's hull, and then it's got a kind of pseudo K-91 turret. So if we look at the live armor, you can kind of see what I mean. It's got the K-91's weaknesses of kind of having the the area below what would be considered the cupola to be weak. Obviously on the K-91 that's only on one side, but this tank, the K-91 version 2, has it on both sides. You can see the hull is not particularly the strongest, but you can kind of see how it can kind of bait shots. You can kind of see how the turret is pretty strong, when you put it into its gun depression. Let me get it to work. There we go. You can see how, if they shoot around the gun, they're not really going to be penning, but obviously these areas are pretty weak. Yeah, it looks like an altogether relatively formidable tank. Not overpowered, for sure. Its party trick was always going to be its DPM, relatively decent speed, and then the ability to ricochet and bounce some shells slightly more reliably than other medium tanks. And obviously with that gun handling as well was looking really quite nice. A lot of people were comparing it to an armoured Leo PTA for quite a while, which you can definitely see, with the slightly lower HP pool, the speed, the DPM, the gun handling, but then obviously having the armour, which the Leo PTA doesn't have. And yeah, as I said, it was banded about to pretty much be included in every single event possible from about 2020 to about 2023. And then since then, I haven't seen this tank be mentioned once. Not by the community, not by content creators, not by Wargaming. However, quite to the contrary, I have a couple of images which may suggest otherwise. And maybe it hasn't quite been as forgotten as it may seem. Well, here we go. This is 7 days. Today is the 17th of September. And within the last 7 days, so between the 10th of September and the 17th of September, this tank has been played by a unnamed super tester. I'm not going to go and name and shame, but an unnamed super tester has played 21 games in this tank. Interesting. So that means that super testers still have the tank available on their account, and I would like to state this individual is not a Wargaming employee. So it is on super tester account still and available still to be played. And I have another one. Another unnamed super tester has played 9 games in this tank in the last 7 days. So maybe it isn't quite as forgotten as we may think. And here is, well, this is all off the amazingtomatoes.gg, brilliant website. Definitely go check it out. But we can see in the last 60 days, 76 games have been played in this tank, which is not a lot and suggests that this is not a widespread testing event. Normally when tanks get released to super testers, they have a very short period of time, 2 to 3 weeks, to be able to play the tank. They have to play X amount of games in it and then submit their opinions. This is looking like either the tank has just been forgotten on super testers accounts, or only very specific super testers have access to it and they are having the ability to test it over a long period of time. What does that mean? Well, maybe this tank isn't as forgotten as we may initially think. Maybe we may see this tank sometime soon. And when I say sometime soon, I'm not, saying, oh, Christmas, it may be Christmas boxes. I'm more thinking we're most likely probably going to see this tank as part of an auction. I'm thinking the auction which we got this year, it was called The Auction, we got it around February, March time. I'm thinking maybe February, March time 2025, the K-91 version 2 could be included, just because it's still being tested. If this tank was truly forgotten about, Wargaming would have removed it from the game files, they'd have, removed it from super testers' accounts, but it clearly isn't. It's clearly still being tested, just very, very casually and on a very small scale. So maybe we will see this tank. Once again, maybe we won't. Maybe this is just been forgotten and it's just been left on super testers accounts to rot. Who knows? Personally, I'd love to see this tank. I think it would be quite fun to pick up, especially if it's part of some kind of an auction. I'd maybe consider shoving a bid on it because it's quite funky. It's got nice DPM, nice gun handling, speed, armor which can be semi-reliable, bouncing some funky shots. Yeah, it's my kind of playstyle. I like medium tanks with this kind of gameplay, so yeah, I'd love to see it introduced. And Wargaming, tell us what's happening. Just give us an update. Maybe a winky face someone, I don't know. Super testers obviously can't say anything because of NDAs, and I have asked a super tester that has played this tank recently, and all I got was, can't say, won't say. So, there you go. That's all I can tell you right now about the K-91 version 2. But as it stands at the minute, it's a tank that Wargaming have forgotten about. So, I will see you all in the next video. If you did like it, don't forget to check out these video and playlists on the screen and click subscribe. And I'll see you all very soon.